Welcome to Beyond the Blueprint, the podcast where we explore growth, resilience, and lessons that shape our journeys.
I'm Barry, and I'm here with my brother Timoni. Together we dive into honest conversations about life, success, and everything in between.
This is a space for relatable insights, practical advice, and stories that help you carve your own path.
So let's look beyond the blueprint.
How's it? Welcome back. It's so interesting. I think it feels like the first time again. But yeah, Timoni, how are you doing?
I'm alright, bro. How you doing?
I'm alright. Can't complain. What's been going on?
Hey, dude. Look, from the visuals of what's going on here, it tells us a lot about what's been going on. We've told everyone we've had something big planned. We've had something big coming.
Yeah.
I think it goes to show the effort and what we've put in.
The commitment, the time.
100%.
But yeah, look, let's not make this any more awkward. As you can see, we've got a person sitting between us. So, hi, Ryan. His name is Ryan. He can tell you his other name if he wants to. Ryan and I'll let him introduce himself, and then I might say how we know each other. But yeah, Ryan, how's it going?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on the first episode, the first video episode, and the first episode with your new kit.
Yeah.
My name's Ryan Ellis.
You're our first guest as well, by the way.
Oh, awesome. Sweet. I'm glad to. My name's Ryan Ellis. I run corporate affairs at Kansanshi Mine, which essentially is public relations. And I think that's what we're going to chat about a little bit today.
Yeah.
But basically, I have the job of trying to make sure that this big organization doesn't damage its relationships with the people who live around it and the people who are affected by it.
All right. So yeah, I think Ryan's already stated where he works and what he does. And for you people that have been listening, you know Timoni and I are in the mining industry, and that's how Ryan and I know each other. So yeah, do you guys want to dive right into it? Do you have any icebreaker questions, or do you have any?
I do have an icebreaker question. So, how long have you been in your current role for, and are you enjoying it?
I've been in my current role around about 6 months now. I enjoy it a lot. I'd been in some other roles that were slightly more external to the core business of the company, and I had been just naturally through my career progression and projects I took on, been pushing more into the center of the company. This role allows me to actually be in the thinking conversations. And I think I craved that in my career. I think any motivated, intelligent person wants to be in the room when people are thinking and when decisions are being made. And this role, affords me a little bit of that. Affords me the opportunity to set the narrative direction of the company. And that's all really intellectually fulfilling and stimulating.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So you've told us about who Ryan is now and what Ryan does for a living. Do you just want to tell us a bit more about your upbringing and basically where you've come from and how you found yourself where you are?
Yeah, everything that you're comfortable with sharing.
I won't share anything I'm not comfortable with, don't worry.
100% cool.
That's part of the skill set. But I'm a second generation Zambian citizen, which given my skin color, I guess for the podcast listeners, I'm white.
For the audio ones.
It's good for context. Yeah.
But that does mean that I'm often perceived as an expatriate, my skin color, which is something that is often at the front of my mind, given what I do. But I grew up in Zambia. I've lived my whole life in Zambia. I lived in Ndola for the first half of my childhood, which is obviously a town that was built around mining.
Yep.
And so, it's an industry I've been around and been impacted my whole life. We moved to Lusaka when I was around 10, went to school there, and then ended up going off and becoming a professional cyclist for a few years. After a couple of years of that, kind of realized that it was a brutal career, and also that I wasn't going to have the level of success that I desired in
Brutal physically?
Physically and mentally.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of pain and suffering, and I'll happily chat more about that in a moment. I'll finish my little career summary. So did that, went off to university, studied journalism, and then as I was finishing that, I got a call from Kansanshi Mine saying that they had a cycling program and they were struggling to figure out how to do it. And so I ran that, and then because of my degree in journalism, I sort of gradually trended more in the direction of public relations. Also, I guess, though, just ran the cycling team, then took on more and more sports teams, and then that afforded me the opportunity to set up some PR projects, one being like the Kansanshi Marathon, which for me is a career milestone that I'm very proud of.
Oh, yeah. You've done that, yeah? Twice now? Three
But also, I
times.
mean, it was my idea. I pitched it. I convinced the company to do it and built a team to make it happen.
You and I painfully ran 10Ks last. I mean, you did better than me.
Yeah, but trust me, it was as painful, if not more.
10Ks in the last one, yeah?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Congrats on that. That was a pretty successful event both years, and I think it leveled up 1 year from the next. So I'm hoping that next year's will be even bigger and better.
It will be. I think the thing. So we've always tried to. We actively limit the rate of growth. Because of the space available, basically. There's a limited number of roads in Solwezi. There's a limited number of roads to get people in and out of the venue. And what we don't want is a disaster where it's a funny feeling when you're in charge of an event and there's thousands of people. And if you mess up, suddenly they don't have water. Suddenly they don't have food. Suddenly it's hot and they're all very angry.
Yeah.
And when you're in that situation, you can feel like, okay, I'm standing in the middle of a field surrounded by 300 people who are all angry with me right now.
Yeah, that's a funny feeling to shake.
There's a point I want to touch on, though, with the marathon, which is like you mentioned, it's successful. But I think people always think it's successful because of its management. What they don't really realize is there's a core strategic decision. If we had gone with, I mean, the mine has put on many cycling events. They've never grown to that level. If we had gone with a netball event, we wouldn't have. So there's a core strategic decision, which is what
Is easily accessible.
what's accessible to the public. Fundamentally, what will work. And the Kansanshi Marathon very well marries. This is quite a sporting company, First Quantum, right up to the CEO. He's an avid cyclist and all that, and that trickles down, I think, through the culture of the company a little bit. So it had backing of the company, and it is a sport that was at a growth, had a strong growth trajectory in Zambia in general because it's accessible, but also you've got this growing middle class of people who are interested in being fit and healthy.
Yeah, and that's actually, sorry to cut you off short, that's actually something Bear and I have spoken about on the podcast, is that there's been a general shift in, especially obviously in Africa, but more Zambia, that you see more people who are interested in
Working
out, getting fit.
their health and stuff.
Yeah, that hasn't necessarily been the thing. If you look at the last maybe 10, 15 years, the growth in that space has been really great. And obviously it's events like that and the general exposure that people get from these events that helps them.
Well, the event is designed in response to a need, and I think that that's why it's successful. I think when you design in response to a need as opposed to trying to build it and they will come. You can build something and wait 10 years but no one comes.
People respond.
So that's kind of my career history. I think based on some of those successes, I was given the opportunity then to take on the running of corporate affairs at Kansanshi, and that's the new challenge. And Barry's got a little bit of a role in that potentially as well, because we're looking for people in the company to helps with the narrative. And maybe I've shared more than you want me to, so I'll leave
No,
it out
it's
there,
all
but-
good.
Don't
It's all
stress
good.
about
It's all good. Maybe by the time that this drops, some things might have been official. So
I think so.
But it's
Yeah.
Wait
okay.
and see.
Yeah, it's surface level.
Yeah.
All right. I think we had a lot lined up for the day. We might as well get into it.
Yep.
We don't need to give any backgrounds about ourselves, I think.
Of course.
If you're a return listener, you should know who we are and what we do. And if you want to know, you might need to go back to one of
Backtrack
the
a bit,
earlier
yeah.
episodes. So, of course, one of the biggest parts in your role is speaking for organizations, right? And I think people now with the world, social media, multiple platforms, people want to express themselves. People sometimes struggle with trying to find, how do I express myself? Where do I express myself? What direction do I take? How do I build a brand? And over and above, speaking for the organization, how can people build their own personal brand and speak for themselves?
The first thing to address, I think, as soon as you speak for a brand, you've got to respect that a number of limitations now exist. I've introduced myself in relation to my role, and in relation to the company I work for. So the demeanor I portray, the what I say, what opinions I choose to express, will all potentially reflect back on the company.
Yeah.
So you now, to use an analogy, you're walking into the woods, but you're no longer alone. You've got someone who's now following you. You've got a company that's now its image is now attached to you. You're dragging it into the woods with you.
So the thing that I'm thinking about right now, sorry, I know you want to say something. Is it important to make any necessary, like any disclaimers and say this and this and this shouldn't be taken as, I don't know, Bible truth, for lack of a better way of describing it, or it's fine. You're happy to. I don't know if you get my question.
Yeah,
no.
your question.
Yeah. Yes, I think you've either you've got to express the data that the company has. So if I'm going to say we have done this, right, that's got to be factual, and it's got to be something that's in the public knowledge that the company has done. So you sit down, as Timoni or as Berry to do a podcast, and you've got your body of knowledge in your brain.
Yeah.
When you speak on behalf of an organization, you've got a subset of that, which is the knowledge that you know that you can speak on behalf of the company about. Knowledge you have of the company, knowledge that or information that you know that company is happy for you to disclose. So one of the first challenges is that you're somewhat a little bit restricted. So you can't just say anything and everything. Okay. Back to your question about the disclaimer. Yes, I think you and in part it's how you choose to introduce yourself. I am so and so. I am with this company now. Therefore, everything I say is now going to be perceived as the opinion of that company. Okay. If I want to express my own opinion, in my personal opinion, X, Y, Z.
Okay.
And then you temporarily divorce yourself from the company. But that divorce is, it's not a court of law. The court of public opinion is very different from the
court of law.
In the court of public opinion, you're never fully divorced from if you're attached to something, you're attached. Yeah. And just putting in a disclaimer doesn't.
For those of you that can't see, he just did air quotes with his hands. So
yeah.
But I've got a question as well with regard to that. There's just generally been a shift within the corporate space where I think people are a lot more attached to the companies than they were back then. And I think I could attribute that one of the reasons being technology and the innovations that have happened in the technological space with regard to like social media, and as well, even we just detach ourselves from basically speaking on behalf of the company, even just working for the company. A lot of people are working from home now because of technology, laptops. Communication is easy, as opposed to back in the day when people, once you left the office, you left all work at the office, and there was basically very few means of communicating to someone. What other things could you attribute to this connection that people have with their organizations in this day and age?
So one of the things that I think comes up is that, like, when it comes to personal brand, because we're consuming media through laptops, phones, etc., it's quite visual. So your personal brand is visual, which means you've got to have an aesthetic. Now, if you're tied to a company, your aesthetic now is tied to that company's aesthetic.
Do you think people and the organization need to be somewhat aligned in their aesthetic for it to be, I guess, a successful brand?
Because I could talk for lack of a better way of describing it, I could be talking left, whereas my entity talks right.
Right. Yeah.
And do I, by virtue of the fact that I've joined a particular entity, I automatically need to also become right because I want my brand and the company's brand to align?
So I think let's use an example, and I'm going to use the example of Mzinga Melu.
Yep.
Because I think she's a very prominent voice of herself, but also simultaneously voice of a business.
If she listens to this, would be very happy to have her on the pod if she wants to come on. So, please go on.
In her personal brand, there'll be little color accents of red.
Always. It's either a scarf or something.
Exactly. Yeah. She's coordinated her brand with the company's brand. She's made that decision. And I think that, people then, what they perceive from that is that, okay, she's really invested in ABSA, right? If you do see other individuals who will build their personal brand, but they will remain neutral. They won't tie their personal brand to and then that's their decision. But I do think that the public perception will be, okay, this individual's building a personal brand.
Yeah.
And I do think that in our minds, we will not consider them as closely tied to that brand. So I think it's decisions and consequences. How tied are you to the brand of that company? How loyal are you instead to yourself and your own personal brand? I think in certain cases, like with Mazinga, it's inextricable.
Yeah.
And so I think, in my opinion, she's taken that, she's accepted it, and she's decided to build her own brand alongside ABSA and to tie her sort of image and the colors and brand elements that she chooses to the company.
But doesn't that create a bit of a dilemma? So let's assume today she moves on to somewhere else. So you move on, or whoever it is moves on to somewhere else. And seeing as we pick color, the color is blue. Do you suddenly change your aesthetic to have those little highlights of blue or hints of blue to try and align with the brand? And as you keep changing, do people start to think you're not consistent or you're a bit fake?
Yeah, because you do have a point. Because when you think Mazinga, you think red, you think ABSA.
Yeah.
So is it kind of arguable that her brand is based off ABSA? Not off, but like, it's very strongly attributed to ABSA. So if she were to leave, would her brand lose a bit more of value, because people no longer see red, no longer see ABSA. Some people might be like, this is not the Mazinga I knew, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe the consistent element of her brand would be that she's a banking CEO, or a leading thinker in banking, or something to that effect. So as long as you've got that, because then the color can change and you've got that consistent thread. If she changed organizations, she would have to rebrand her aesthetic. But I do think that people would understand that, and they would. It's almost like an athlete moving from Nike to Adidas or whatever it might be.
It rarely happens though. But
Or
I get what you mean.
Changing a club.
Changing a club. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ronaldo's moved multiple clubs,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the brand of CR7 has stuck,
yeah.
regardless of where it goes.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay.
So I guess the short answer is you have your individual brand elements, and then the brand elements that you absorb from the company that you.
I think it's about one
Okay.
leveraging the other, So it's not necessarily that I guess your personal brand has no value. It's just kind of if you can leverage. And I think that's why I wanted to say it's sort of a pride thing, because some people, like if you organize, most people are proud of the organization they work for.
Of course.
So you would want to be attributed to that organization. You'd want that organization to be part of your personal
Yeah.
brand, because it adds value to you.
It does add value, yeah.
So I think for most people, that is why they take, as you said, it's about decisions and consequences. Most people do decide, because it's like the upside is more than, I guess, the consequences.
Than the consequence. Because in my mind, what I'm thinking is, it should be if we take Ryan and we put him in 5 different spaces, everyone should speak consistently of who Ryan is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But within who Ryan is in those different places, it could be someone might think his color is blue or it's green or it's red, but underlyingly there's consistency.
Ryan is Ryan.
Ryan is Ryan. So it makes sense.
So which I think brings me to what's more consequential, because what's more consequential than aesthetic brand is the brand you build based on your actions. That's you can wear certain clothes, you can have a certain color, but ultimately, what brand do you build in terms of the decisions you make, the actions you take? So using the Mazinga example again, banks have to be trustworthy. So as a part of her brand, she can't get dragged into certain interpersonal politics, for example, because she's got to be seen to be above that. That's got to be consistent across whatever organization she's with. The same with myself, and I've not admittedly taken much effort to build my personal brand, and it's still a decision sort of as to whether I really want to. But I'm associated with large mining companies. Large mining companies in Zambia have certain social obligations.
Yep.
So, I have a certain level of responsibility, even if I don't build my personal brand, to conduct myself in a certain way in public, to have certain views, or to accept or reject certain views.
Yeah.
That's now there's aesthetic brand. But then, and I'm blanking on a word for this, and I should know what it is. But basically, the brand that you have, the reputation is the word. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Reputation is the accumulation of your actions and how they've been perceived and received by the public.
Exactly.
that is, I think, a lot more consequential, and that is what must remain consistent as you move from one aesthetic brand to another. And your aesthetic brand can contribute to your reputation, but you know, the aesthetic brand really is the wrapping. You know, it's the icing, and reputation
The
is the
package
cake.
people see regardless of whatever aesthetic or environment you're in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have two things. The first thing is, in your career
Sorry,
thus
Barry
far,
and I hope you don't feel like we're grilling you. It's just
No, it's good, and it's my job to be grilled. I mean, this is good practice.
So one of the things we've been getting on the pod is that we have the same opinions.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
as you can see, we're wearing the same shirt. It was part of the joke in that we'd wear the same shirt and the guest would wear a different color. It's like
So we set you up, actually.
set you up low key. But it's so what we're trying to potentially bring out is that this is a different perspective. This is a different angle. Yours is a different angle, because we could have this exact same conversation and we might think differently, but we will agree.
Yeah.
More often than not, we agree. So this is trying to get a bit of a
Different perspective.
of a mix into it. For those that get the joke, they get the joke.
Yeah.
But the two things that are in my head are: have you said anything in your career thus far that spiraled into a you should not have said that
Or done that.
or done that? And talking about conduct and how you present yourself and all of those things, I had a conversation actually with one of our GMs. I'm not going to say whether it was a previous one or the current one, and it was about conduct. And he said, imagine you're a doctor, right? And you're at the club the previous night, jumping on the table, bottle in hand and whatever. And the next morning, people see you, right?
Yeah.
And the next morning, one of those people is your client. They're going into surgery, and you walk into the room. Do you think that they will be comfortable? So my question is, how much of how we conduct ourselves as people should be reflective of our roles or the roles that we play in an entity? Or do you think society should make the two separate and say, look, if you want to be a party animal, be a party animal on one hand, but we can then still respect the fact that you're a professional, and what you do on this side doesn't reflect on the other
But
side.
let's just park that one for a second. That's a really good point. Let's start with the first one. But yeah, just everyone remember that. Just let's
Okay,
not forget
alright.
that. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
So have you said any? So I guess the
Settle
first
down.
one is:
The
have you
first
said
one.
anything?
Done anything. And also, I think just to add on to that, what was the learning experience and from that,
If it has happened, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever said anything that's been overtly damaging to the company, but there's more nuanced decisions. You know, I had come from, so I guess part of I didn't mention in my intro, my family has a business in Zambia, and I took time away from this company to go and run that company for a little bit, where I was managing director. So I could make decisions, you know, freely. I had to ensure that my team were on board with what I was doing and supported it. But now I'm in a role, I fit into the hierarchy in a certain place, and there's people I have to collaborate with who are here in Solwezi, in Lusaka, in London, even in Toronto. So there was a very challenging adjustment for me from being able to just make a decision and go to having to consult on a decision.
On certain decisions.
But what makes it even more challenging is it's not every decision that you have to consult on. So you have to be able to think on your feet. This company values, and I think that's one of the successes of this company, is that it values people who can think on their feet and get things done. So you're thinking on your feet, you're getting things done, go, and then suddenly, whoop, I have to stop on this one. I need to consult.
Yeah.
And quite a few times I saw something, I felt like I knew exactly what to do, and I did it. And then I got, hey, you didn't check in with us. Like, you know,
okay.
I went on ZNBC and gave an interview on a topic where really I should have cleared that with you know, certain other people. But, you know, that was on a day where we were busy setting up. The president was coming to visit here, and there were a lot of last minute changes requested by certain people who had arrived, and that last 24 hours, you know, I'd slept like 3 hours the night before. We were just go. There was so much to get done, and so many, because I was responsible for that event. I was the central decision maker.
Yeah.
So making decisions quickly and getting them actioned was my purpose. I mean, at any given moment, I had my phone ringing, 2 people asking me different questions, and one of those questions was, ZNBC want an interview. Will you do the interview? Yes, because it's part of my job. I give interviews every day.
Yeah.
B, like, we are open and transparent and candid as a company.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
But part of the adjustment was that I should have said, there's certain other people coming to town for this event. I think it'd be more suitable you get that individual
to speak.
But I hadn't fully adjusted from my previous role to my current role yet. And so I was just like, yes, what time? Okay, this time, good.
No stress.
And I had the information required for the interview, and the interview was fine. I got the facts right, did well, but I also, and I didn't end up in trouble of it. I did sort of have a chat with 1 or 2 of the individuals, and hey, next time just give me a call and let me know.
Yeah.
That was so. I have had that. What I've also had though is standing up in front of a lot of people and getting a very hard question to which there's no good answer.
What could be one of those? Do you have one off the top? If you don't have one off the top of your head, it's fine. But
that is a very hard question.
One of those situations. At least now it's not 300 people.
it's not
just
in front
2
of 300 people.
Well,
I mean, there might be 300
There's-
people.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, sometimes mining's not always all butterflies and rainbows. And sometimes in any company this big, in spite of all positive efforts being made, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And when something goes wrong, there's you've then got to look into what measures did we take to mitigate this? What measures are we taking now? And what has been disclosed so far and to who? And you, in answering a question, you may be aware that, okay, we're planning to do this. But you may also be aware that while we're planning to do this, we've not yet gained the agreement of certain other parties.
Yeah.
So, and those might be government or whoever it might be,
Yeah.
or the particular stakeholders being
Yeah.
impacted. So someone says, what are you doing about this? I know what we're doing about this. Well, I know what we plan to do, but I know we have not yet obtained certain consents.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of stakeholder management. You
Yeah,
know, it's about
yeah.
taking all the, and again, as you said, because a mining company has so many stakeholders, government, public interest, there's like so many stakeholders, so you need to make sure before you put something out there or you make a decision or say something, you've taken into consideration how it affects each and every one of those stakeholders.
Yeah.
The thing that I think must be challenging is filtering what you can and cannot say. Because think about it. Think about it like this. Let's say a friend of yours tells you a secret, right, about another person, and you meet that person. More often than not, you seeing that person brings that memory or that information to the top of your head, right? And that person might even start talking about it or even asking about it. But being able to swerve the situation without, I think that's the tough part, right? And I go through this as well. And I'm not a PR person. I'm not a PR person. I don't have all the answers, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes people ask you questions about Kansanshi or where you work, whatever. And I'm like, I want to answer that question, but I don't know if I can.
I don't know how much
or I don't know.
cannot tell
And the way you might shrug them off, for lack of a better way, is different from me. I might be a bit more blunt about it and be like, I can't tell you that. Whereas you might have a bit more of a tact,
finesse.
finesse on how you actually, I don't know, send them off or give them an answer that leaves them feeling like they've got the answer, but maybe they haven't actually gotten the answer. But anyway, all I wanted to say is I think the tough part, I think the tough part of your job, maybe you've become pretty good at it now, is trying not to say the things that you might want to say but shouldn't say.
And just to turn that into a question, is it a skill you've had to learn over the years, or is it something that came to you easily or was pretty difficult? How has that been?
Have you become a good liar?
There's a
Lie to us.
I wouldn't.
I'm joking. It's
Yeah.
it's a joke.
No, but there's two components to it. There's a decision and then there's a skill. There's a decision as to how am I going to handle difficult information in public conversations, and then the second, then there's the skill of actually doing it, Right. So I'm going to give you here's a concrete example. We get a lot of political pressure to hire from the local mine impacted community.
Yeah.
And we have policies, and we literally have employees and teams whose job is to ensure that we do this and that we get it right. Now, when it comes to demonstrating evidence that we've done this, we start to brush up against sharing sensitive information that could impact other people. So we get asked very frequently, and this discussion has been out on Facebook. I've been asked, "Where's the list?
What?
Give us the list of the names of local, as in Solwezi town or district, individuals that you've hired in the past year." That is sensitive information. We don't have those people's consent to share that information.
Exactly.
So I can say, I can't do that. I can say that the Data Protection Act prevents me from doing that. I can say I don't have those individuals' consent. I have very legitimate reasons to not answer that question. We can think about as a company maybe going into a place where when people are hired from mine impacted communities, we obtain their consent.
Yeah.
They might not all consent.
Yes.
Because when you disclose their information, you can put them in problems.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They might owe money to someone.
Yeah.
They might end up in a situation where someone feels that they were given unfair favor. They might end up in physical danger.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what you're saying. It's like you're making a decision on their behalf to attribute them to the company. Because some people may want to keep their image and brand or person away from the company, but it's like you're taking that, you're stripping them of that power by doing something like that. So you do have a point, of course. Yeah.
So there's no right answer here. Because then on the other side of it, people are saying, oh, well, you claim to hire local, you've given us numbers, but how do we verify those numbers if you don't give us information? Now, this is a very difficult and complex topic, because how do you determine who's local?
I was about to ask that question.
That is another.
I was actually about to ask that question because technically I'm local because I'm from Zambia, and someone would say, as a Zambian, you're local, right? But it sounds to me like local is Solwezi district.
Yeah, because
but
just to add on to that, like some people may be here from Monday to Friday, but over the weekend they go out of Solwezi. Are they Solwezi local?
And think about it like this, right? Imagine when I was 16, I was visiting I live in Lusaka. I was visiting a relative that lived here, and while I was here, I was like, look, I think it would be quicker and easier for me to get an NRC from here. So I get an NRC from here, and I go back. And I'm back in Lusaka for X years. So you know how NRCs have that coding? They have a code at the end that essentially shows which district
chief and everything is on it. Yeah.
And I'm back, I don't know, 10 years later. And I'm now considered I actually applied for the job in Lusaka.
Yeah.
I drove down, whatever, came down, did the interviews. And they say, okay, you've got a Solwezi NRC, you're local. But technically speaking, I'm not. I just got an NRC here.
Their criteria is very different.
So what exactly is local?
That's been a topic of furious debate for a long time. And I think it's a topic on which there is no consensus. And so when there's no consensus, you've got to say, this is what we believe is the best thing to do, and this is what we're going to do. So you've just highlighted a point that I thought I was going to have to make. So thanks. The NRC doesn't work. Because people don't always get their NRC where they were born or where they've lived.
Yeah.
And people go to small towns to get their NRCs.
That's all.
Because the queue is shorter. So NRC doesn't work. All right. Surname doesn't necessarily work.
No.
Being given a list by a particular group or authority is extremely problematic. Because that list comes with power. That person or that entity now has the power to say, if you want to be on the list, here's what you've got to do. So list is very problematic. The only thing we've been able to really, for right now, this is still an open topic. It's not a closed topic. We've not made a decision about how to go about this as a company yet. But one strong candidate is school leaver certificate, especially if you can get a primary and secondary school. So you can say, okay, you went to primary and secondary school in Solwezi. You are, but
like,
there
is open. That's why he's saying
it is. I'm just immediately shaking my head because I'm already a product of. I went to school in Mukushi as an example.
Which
Yeah,
you've lived
people
here
go
for
to
the
boarding
past-
school.
Yeah, and I went to boarding school when
boarding
I was in
schools
grade
are- yeah,
5.
boarding
So I've got a
school
primary
messes it up.
certificate from there and a secondary certificate from there.
Let me channel this conversation in a more constructive direction. And I'm not saying that that's not a reflection of this podcast. That's a reflection of this is exactly what happens in the public discourse. This gets latched onto who is
exactly.
local, and people obsess about it, right? Now,
I've got a question. Okay, anyway. Okay, other than the fact that I guess people want locals to be empowered, is that where the conflict really stems from? Is it that they believe that there's not enough locals who are benefiting from the mine being here? Is that what it is?
that is a component of it. The growth of the city would suggest otherwise, because if there was no benefit to the local community, you wouldn't have such massive growth, taking place. But yes, fundamentally the argument is locals must benefit. Just be candid about it. Also, it's a political tool, right?
It is.
You can always whenever there's an imperfect situation, it will be picked up and used in political campaigning.
Exactly.
And youth unemployment nationwide is a big problem.
It is, yeah.
Our population's growing at a rate much higher than our economy, so employment will increase. So this is where I would say the more constructive direction to look, because the population of Solwezi is growing at a rate that's significantly higher than
job creation
than we as a mine can absorb.
Yeah.
Because we're a big company, but we've got 7,100 people working for us. So when you've got a city that's growing at a rate of 8,000 people a year, hang on, the math.
it doesn't
Right?
work out.
Yeah.
So you're gonna rotate the whole flipping. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work.
The question is, okay, how do we help ensure that people get jobs? And this is the more constructive direction, I believe, for us to take. Because Kansanshi Mine trying to employ all the people who are flocking to Solwezi for employment, all the young people who are coming out of the schools and entering the workforce, we can contribute. We're a very large employer. Yeah. But we're emptying the Zambezi with a bucket, is the analogy I always keep going back to, right? So, and this is why I say more constructive direction, because the conversation tends to latch onto perfecting the bucket with which we're trying to empty the Zambezi. And it's more constructive to think maybe we need a better strategy for how to empty the Zambezi.
I think so, exactly, yeah.
Rather than just focusing on this bucket.
the bucket, yep.
So the strategy is this local economy needs to diversify. It's the city was built around the mine, around supplying the mine. Now you've got Kansanshi has a payroll of roughly 40 million kwacha per month. So you've got all this money flowing into the city.
Yeah.
You mentioned just now, people who go to Kitwe for the weekend, right?
Yep. Yeah.
People go elsewhere. But why do they do it? Yes, they might have families there, but also they go there to seek shopping, entertainment, and also maybe their families have chosen not to live in Solwezi
as well
because
of the lack of. Yeah.
So the solution really is the mine is the catalyst. The economy needs to diversify. Yeah. We should be looking a lot harder at commercial agriculture blocks, right? Because youth unemployment, one of the best solutions is to grow agriculture, because agriculture is a larger employer than mining. Mm-hmm. You have a larger need for unskilled labor too in agriculture than you do in mining. Mining is becoming extremely high tech. We really should be looking at, okay, there's a big taxpayer here, there's a big employer here, there's a lot of cash going into the community. How do we set the city up to be an investment destination so that the economy diversifies, so that there's a broader spectrum of opportunities? That's my personal opinion.
Your take. And I think you've definitely got a point. I like the disclaimer.
I like that. Yeah, that was nice.
But you definitely got a point. I think what the view has been, and again, even for me, I'll speak for myself. When I look at the other mine that's under FQM, which is Trident, in Kalumbila, my take is that a lot of people just go there for work, but then when it's time for, as you said, enjoyment and getting like, peace of mind, they always leave and go somewhere else. And
Yeah.
it doesn't help the the economy and the people in the area, because then as you said, you're not attracting investors and people to build and grow companies and create jobs in the area. So I think, as you said, the mine is the catalyst, the mine is the starting point. But from there on, I think we need, as a wider community, to just think a bit more in how we can attract people to come and invest here and grow. And I think you also mentioned agriculture. I think is a good one due to the unskilled labor. And I think crops are basically a commodity of some sort.
Yeah.
So I think you always win from producing a commodity, because number one,
It becomes an additional economic driver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think I agree with your take. That I think is the wider issue.
So what's projected to be the fastest growing industry in Southern Africa over the next decade is food processing. So, in Zambia, we grow dry beans. We grow beans, we dry them, we export them, and then we import tinned beans.
Are you being real?
Yeah. Cool. We import tinned beans from South Africa.
Yeah.
What's the point?
But the point is, there's potential, and I mean, we've got a market. We've got Lubumbashi nearby. We've got a rapidly growing population right here in Solwezi. There's the copper belt. So there's agricultural opportunities, and then there's secondary opportunities in food processing. There's also a massive bored population of people in this city with money. If you have the money to drive to Kitwe to go and entertain yourself and drive back, you've got the money to go to a movie theater.
Yeah.
Which we don't have in Solwezi. You've got the money to go maybe to an amusement park.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities here.
Yeah.
But what we don't tend to do in Zambia, which you do see a lot in other countries, cities in other countries will advertise themselves as investment destinations to the population itself, so that when someone is in Lusaka and maybe they've grown a business, they've sold it or whatever, when they are in a position to invest, they're going to be thinking,
where do I go now?
Where do I go?
Yeah.
So look at that, man. Yeah. Solwezi is growing at a certain rate. It's got a guaranteed... Solwezi has something that so many other cities around the world don't have. Yeah. It's got this guaranteed influx of cash every month.
Yeah.
That's a massive opportunity.
Yeah.
So this is all the bucket with which we try to empty the Zambezi. It deserves some scrutiny.
Yes.
But we've also got to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah. Maybe getting a bigger bucket or finding a different
way of
we should be thinking
to just finish off that analogy.
Yeah.
Right.
I wanted to shift away from the CSR RAN and talk to more of the personal RAN.
Personal RAN, yeah.
So I wanted to ask a very open-ended question. I just want to see what your thoughts are on that. But are you happy? Are you happy with your current?
It's so funny. I had a conversation with another person yesterday, and we have a personal professional relationship. And before we get into the professional, we were just having a light chat. And that's one of the questions I asked him, are you happy? I actually remember, same thing, when I was on the BI program, GM was presenting to everybody, having a bit of a chat. And I did the same thing. Everyone was asking all these technical questions and whatever. And I was just like, are you happy? So yeah, Ryan, are you happy?
Overall, yeah. I enjoy my job a lot. I mean, the passion with which we just went into that last discussion, my job puts me in a position to be able to think about these things and take actions that may actually have an impact. And I think fulfillment-wise, that's enormous. To be honest, right now, I think I'm at a pivotal point in my career and my life where the work I do right now is going to impact others beyond me, but also impact my trajectory going forward. So I'm in a place where work dominates life right now. And so I'll talk about work-life balance in a moment. Okay. But I think it's also valuable sometimes to zoom out on your life and go, okay, this is a moment where it's worth working a heck of a lot and maybe not having much of a life outside because I'm trying to turn a certain corner. Yeah. But then you got to have a strategy to get back out of that. To rediscover balance. But for myself within my role, I'm just building a new team, building a number of new projects that will then help me to have that freedom to be the strategic thinker and have people to execute, which will then hopefully afford me a work-life balance. Because right now I'm trying to strategize and execute. I'm happy in that I enjoy my job a lot. I don't have a very good work-life balance right now. I did manage to go for a run this morning,
which is great.
Yeah,
but,
10.
Oh no, 8. Okay. 8.7, I think it was. But yeah, I mean, before I took on this role, I was running like 50 plus Ks a week. You know, I was doing 30K trail runs on the weekend and having a great time.
Damn.
And had a much bigger social life. I have had I'll admit I've had weekends recently where I get home on Friday and then Saturday morning I wake up and I realize that my life is gutted. There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
Because I've just all week all I've thought about is work. And on that, that's no one else's fault, and there's no one else who can fix it other than me.
Other than yourself, yeah.
And I think that we've I do think that this is fundamental, I think, to people of this age, as in of this era in time, is that the corporate world is very demanding. Technology allows us to work 24/7, and supplements allow us to have the energy to push our bodies and push our minds.
Yeah.
But that's the thing I think
we have creatine in our glasses.
We should mention that. I mean, all of us have got a scoop of creatine in our glasses.
I'm almost done.
But and I take that because it's been shown to be very effective at sort of reducing mental fatigue.
Yeah, helps with cognitive function, all that stuff.
And so
to show.
We're all trying to optimize, but you got to optimize if that's your culture, then you got to optimize for balance too. Because what's this all for?
At the end, the end of it all.
But I think that's what keeps life interesting. Is that sometimes there isn't always a goal. Because I like what you said about optimization. That's kind of the take I have on my own life. Because I think, just to give a bit of a background as to my mindset, I think because I like playing football and I've been playing football for a very long time. At some point, I think a couple years ago, I picked up working out, basically strength training, gym sort of thing. And I faced this balance. I like to tell people, I did a bit of research at some point, and some people may or may not agree, but the research backs it. Based on the research I did, is that, to give a bit of an analogy for people to simply understand it, cardiovascular training, which is more of running, cycling, the stuff that gets your heart rate high, and obviously strength training, they sort of pull in opposite directions as to the optimizations they create in your body. So when you do a lot of cardio, what you end up doing is, that's why you always see
long distance
runners, cyclists, footballs are always lean and don't have that much muscle, because the body has optimized for that. And that's why, because muscle is heavy and reduces flexibility. So it's not so great for that. That's why they're always pretty lean. And then on the other hand, you always find that people who are into the strength training thing, bodybuilders aren't that fast, aren't that flexible, but that's because they need to have muscle that is optimized to lift heavier weight, and obviously their cardiovascular fitness is pretty bad. If you ask a bodybuilder to run 5Ks, it won't be the fastest 5Ks ever run. So I reached the point where I was asking myself, it brought a lot of dissatisfaction to me, because what happened is I'll go into the gym for some time and maybe a couple of months, then transition back to football, and I'll really feel that I'm lacking. And then I'll do football for some time. When I go back in the gym, I really feel like I'm lacking there. And that's why, long story short, I ended up saying, I'm just going to do both until I can't anymore. Because before, what was dissatisfying is, I get back to football and I'm like, but I've really lost it. I get back to gym and I was stuck in the middle, which way do I go? Because the goal was basically to get good at one. Because even with my lifts, I can't lift very heavy because I'm always going off to run or play football. And then sometimes I can't play football very well because I'm lifting. But where I landed is, I'm just going to do both as much as possible until I can't take it anymore. So just to add on to your point, it's not necessarily about, sometimes for me, it's not about arriving somewhere. It's just about doing both and constantly trying to optimize and see how I can shift the mix to just...
And I think the thing that's in my head is, should we even be calling it work-life balance? Shouldn't we just maybe be calling it
work-life optimization. And I deliberately use those two words because it just says, it speaks to what you just said, right? Balance means more or less equal.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
optimization doesn't always mean equal.
Yeah.
It means, if this is getting a slightly larger chunk or whatever it is than this other one, but everything still receives some sort of attention, then you're optimized, right?
Yeah, trying to find the best.
Exactly.
The
exactly.
most. Oh, I'm going to use the word optimal.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So what I was thinking about when you're talking there about like the football and weightlifting and cardiovascular versus strength, it's like we live in a culture that values specialization.
Yes.
And how do you find balance in that? Because when you look at all these blue zones, like a lot of those cultures have a lot of balance. They have social life. They have healthy diet. They have a little bit of exercise, but not too much.
Too much.
And that's the thing. They have a little bit of everything, but not too much of anything.
Exactly.
And I won't say Western culture because I do feel like this is a culture that's global. But in modern culture, we value specialization because you've got to be good at something
To stand out.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do a little bit of everything, you don't stand out. And but if you want to so my view is if there's something to optimize for, it's lifespan.
Yes.
Healthy, productive lifespan, because that now forces a level of balance, because you being a bodybuilder is not optimal for lifespan. Being a marathon runner is not optimal for lifespan either. Somewhere in the middle there is, you're doing a little bit of everything. You've got muscle tone and strength, but you've got some endurance. And I think, football to me, I've never played a huge amount of it, but I do feel like those kinds of sports are pretty good because you jog, you sprint, you jump,
shuffle left, right,
It's a diverse set of movements.
I like to say all fitness is good fitness. And I think that's one thing I always encourage even my younger brothers to do, because obviously being at my high school, Trident, I was exposed to many sports. And I always tell
out a lot of brands for free here.
I know, right? You guys put us on. Like, you guys want a sponsorship, this sort of deal. But I always encourage my younger brothers to just do as much as possible, because I played cricket, I did running, I played volleyball, I played basketball, I did like
I swam,
long distance running, football. So it's just about doing as much as possible, and then obviously all those results, they end up compounding into something which is good.
That was powerful. Your optimization, you should optimize for lifespan.
Exactly.
Healthy lifespan. That's powerful, because I think sometimes we think about now. So when you're younger, obviously optimal might be strength or be buff or be this super fit person, but you highly unlikely can run 100 Ks when you're 75, right? There's a few people that can do it, but most people might not.
Look at people like David Goggins. I don't know,
I might know him.
But he's like this ultra marathon runner. It's like,
the guy, I know who he is.
And I think he's already experiencing like a lot of issues with his legs, and it just goes to speak about. I think the sweet spot is right in the middle.
Yeah,
not doing, if it's again using the analogy of a spectrum. Far left is ultra marathon runner, far right is like, if we're talking about strength training. But with everything, it's finding that optimal point.
So. And then in all of that as well is like taking a break.
As well.
Because
I'm pretty bad at. So are you. Pretty sure, probably. But from how you speak, I'm pretty sure so are you.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I find, well, you see, here's the thing. I was gonna say I find like I used to find if I don't take one day, like Sunday, like just off and chill, that I would burn out. But then but then you find other solutions, right? Yeah. And for me, it was like I found like I take omega-3s and fish oil because I found that like my short-term memory just performs better. I was having real problems with short-term memory, like just leaving stuff everywhere I go, and
I'm thinking I should take.
You might need to start.
I literally left my wallet at home this morning. I will look into that.
My short-term memory is pretty good.
Yeah,
mine's pretty good.
I have to walk when we're packing up. I have to walk back into the house. Lord knows how many times.
I think
I left this.
A part of me wants to say, for me, that's because I'm a firstborn. And I know that some people will argue against, some people argue for. I don't know where you are in the order of
I'm second of two.
Yeah, okay, so you guys are the same. Yeah. But you know, when you're firstborn, a lot of the time responsibilities are placed on you, so you quite naturally have to be responsible.
You build those adaptations.
Yeah, so you build that adaptation. I need to be able to remember things, because if I don't remember these things, I'm the one that gets blasted for it, even if somebody else forgot it. Because it's like, as the older sibling, you should have been checking to make sure that everything was done. So, but that's just me creating a theory on the spot.
To add on to the point of, especially talking about supplements, sometimes I think it's a bit of a placebo, right? I don't know if
can be, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
'Cause let me tell you guys about this study that I read a book called Lost Connections by, I think his name is, what's the author's name? Is it?
That's that short-term memory not working. That might be
very, very funny, very funny. Anyway, the author's not necessary, but it's called Lost Connections. If you search it up, you find it. And one of the things he speaks about, so for those of you, people that don't know what a placebo effect is, the placebo effect is basically, you know how sometimes when you believe something, it actually works? So that is the thing. I'll speak about medication.
Medication is, yeah.
So what they did in this study is when they're putting out a certain, like a new drug on the market, they usually do they have three groups of people that they test on. One group, they give the actual medication, like a pill of the actual medication. The other group, they give a blank pill, but tell them it's the medication. And then the third group, which is also pretty important, what they say in the book, is a group that they don't give anything, but they follow around or they just keep monitoring to see if they heal. Because some diseases like a flu, some people will heal without medication. You need to take that into consideration when you run your analytics. What they find with some medications, so then obviously they look at how many people heal from each sample group or get cured from the disease.
Yeah.
And what you're hoping to see is that the group that they actually give the medication and tell it's the medication, you get cured the most, because it shows that it's actually working.
Yeah.
But what they actually found is that for some medication, the placebo group, the group who they give a blank pill, actually get cured more than the people who they give the medication. There's actually medications on the market. And I think the whole point of him telling us about that study in the book is just to go to show how easy it is to get a drug on the market. There are some drugs on the market as we speak where the placebo effect is stronger than
the drug itself.
But yeah, the FDA still approves it and blah, blah, blah. It goes on. But anyway, I just want to talk a bit about the placebo effect and that some of these supplements, and I feel that way actually, I'll speak about creatine to be example, to be exact, to be
when
precise.
We had this chat, you told me about that.
I do feel, and the cool thing about the placebo effect as well is it works even though you think or know it's a thing.
Yeah.
So even if you know, like it's a pretty common thing. I've heard about it. I don't know if it's true. Especially in the like Zambian culture back then, they used to inject people with water. So when they're not feeling well, they take them to the hospital because it became a thing that if you get an injection, then you won't get cured. Like even your grandma, when you got home, they always ask, "Did you get an injection?" Because there was a thing that people always believed that injections, because they didn't know what was in them, they just believed they had a lot of power. So
I think it's really important psychologically to feel that you've dealt with a problem. So like I'll give you an example. I had a bug a few weeks ago and I wasn't getting better and I was like feverish and I ended up missing a day of work. And I went to the doctor, like they took blood and they did all these tests. And the doctor was nice and candid with me and she was like, it's a viral infection. There's actually nothing, like your body will fight it off. But until I went to the doctor, I was stressing about the fact that maybe I was properly sick and wasn't doing anything about it. And so I was like, and that stress was probably not helping because stress is a physiological thing as well. And I went to the doctor told me, your body will fight this off. There's like, I can prescribe you some like painkillers, whatever, but really there's nothing.
For the most part.
Yeah, he has to do its job.
You know that within like the next few hours, I just recovered.
that's
and I like
could be the placebo effect.
But it was the knowledge that, so like when you take a pill or when you take creatine, you're responding to a problem.
Yes.
And like for me, walking out of that clinic was the like, okay, I've responded to this problem. I've done what I can do. And like, there's no more stress of, am I not doing something that I should be doing to resolve this issue? That stress was immediately off my shoulders. And I knew, okay, I can go back to my life. And if I feel something, just ignore it because there's not really anything I can do about it. I got better really
Just like
quickly.
that. It works in
I
funny
think,
ways.
yeah,
and
it does work. Do you think that closure works in a similar way?
That's,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
So closure is just, it's the same thing, right?
And I think I like what he said about stress being a physiological thing. You know, at some point, I never believed stress was the thing. I was like, you're just stressed because you're telling yourself you're stressed. But I think there's a hormone cortisol, which gets released into your bloodstream or whatever. And that cortisol is basically, it's
A stress
a defense
hormone.
mechanism.
Yeah.
It makes you sweat, it makes your senses heightened. So it goes back to exactly, like even with closure, I'm pretty sure there's, hormones and
yeah.
stuff that really are like make it work,
Okay. Ryan, I have a random one for you. We have 5 senses as people, right? Hearing, touch, smell, see, all those things. If you were asked to give up one of those, a gun was held to your head and you said you had to choose one to give up, which one would it be?
And why?
Yeah.
And why.
And the why, yeah, definitely.
That's a really tough one because I happen to know that like our mental health depends on all of them. So like, for example, you go blind. It's not just that you can't see anymore. Your serotonin
Circadian
melatonin cycle
everything.
is gone. So suddenly you can't sleep properly anymore, you know? And you
I'm
don't
sure
have
your hearing tweaks with your balance as well.
balance and also like just how much information you miss. I've worked with a deaf athlete.
We've got a deaf cyclist, cyclist, sorry,
On the team, yeah.
on the team.
And
yes.
the how much we learn just from bits and pieces that we pick up from conversations and stuff. And you realize like he is always so far behind because he missed those quick little bits of information.
Yeah.
Well, you do have a point.
He, like waking up in the morning, like, okay, now you've got like sunrise lamps and whatever that you can use, but like someone always had to go wake him up because an alarm clock doesn't work.
Yeah.
So,
I've never thought about that.
well, I
Right.
guess what I'm getting at is like, I feel like with any sense, I mean, smell is so strongly linked to memory and to happiness as well. So like again, mental health depends so heavily on every single sense.
You do have a point.
This is not the direction I was expecting this to take, but this is
very
quite interesting.
Well, the reason I'm going into this is it's a really difficult question
just the easiest thing.
because fundamentally I think like the question is like what component of your happiness are you willing to get rid of?
forgo?
Yeah,
And your safety, because most of them are safety
Safety
mechanisms.
Yeah.
Because even the
Safety.
feel one, I know of people who can't feel, and you never know when
Touch
something's
anything
hot,
hot.
Yeah.
or when you've been stabbed. Like apparently, I watched, and funny enough, I think I stumbled upon this girl on Instagram who doesn't have a sense of feel. I think on our lower half of her body, and I watched a few of her reels, and she was explaining like sometimes she just looks down and she sees she's bleeding.
Yeah.
She didn't know she bumped something or stuff. She says for her, fortunately, she even has a bit of a feel. So I don't feel pain, but I can, like, even if I stub my toe, she says, unless there's like extreme, like, for example, heat, then I can feel there's a funny sensation.
Like
but
a
imagine
little bit
there's
of a
people that
tingling
don't
thing,
feel
yeah.
anything at all. Like, someone's leg could be literally burning. And they wouldn't know.
So
if I absolutely had to, it would be hearing.
hearing.
Yeah. Well, because you can still see, you can still be fit and active, you can still get out there. You miss out. Most of what you lose is information. So you will, like, I actually was thinking about this the one day randomly. Like, I was at work the thought crossed my mind, like, if I was deaf, I wouldn't be as successful as I am.
Yeah.
I would just miss way too much.
Yeah.
I have as an example, it was a career goal of mine to get into, in our company, what we call the HOD meeting, right?
All right. Yeah.
I wanted to be in the room.
I'll admit it's also one
also
of
a little bit of a
it's
goal,
a little bit of a goal for me.
That's in some
I've
sense.
actually never sat in a HOD meeting before. I don't know what
goes on?
goes on. Like I know that there's a bit of a safety meeting and a few updates, but I actually don't know.
I mean, they're very routine. Everyone basically shares.
Hey, sometimes they used
what's
to. I
going-
remember when I was there, they used to go on for long because you know. It seems like it's like could either be 5 minutes or 30 minutes depending.
They're
on
about
what
an
goes
hour
on.
these days, an hour or 45 minutes. These
Yeah,
days.
they're pretty, and that's because I think our current GM is a very quick decision maker. Because how do you cope with difficult situations where there's no clear cut? And there's two. One is to drill deep into every issue, and the other is to go, okay, well, what data points do we have? Okay, with the evidence we have, that's the best
I
approach.
got a hot take for Ryan.
But hold on, because I know where you're going
Yeah,
with
you
this.
know
I
where
know
you're
you're going
going.
with this.
You know
Just
where
finish off your thing about your goal was to sit in the HOD meeting. I know, don't worry.
Yeah, I'll
Just,
keep it, don't
Yeah.
So I sit in a lot of meetings right now at this point in my career where I'm learning so much that my brain hurts, right? And I'm like, that's where I want to be. I am. But if I was deaf, coming back to the actual original question,
Yeah.
you miss all that.
Yeah, no, you do have a point.
Like, so then you got to make up, I guess you got to read a lot.
Yeah,
definitely.
You
yeah.
know? But you're going to miss the conversations. And that's, so now you're losing. But the reason I is I think all the others would really impact my happiness. Deafness, I think, would impact my success. And that will impact happiness, but you can find a way to still then be successful as a deaf person. But I think maybe you lose the least happiness out of all that.
Imagine
And
not being
that's-
able to smell or taste. Oh.
So, what's your one?
But yeah, what I wanted to bring up.
No. What's
mean,
your?
smell.
Which one would
What
you?
sense would I
smell
use?
now. I'm like, why did I not choose smell? Why did I forget that as an
I'll
option?
give you mine. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, smell.
What?
I changed my choice.
for
to smell.
consider-
So you've changed your choice to
I
smell.
think-
Yeah.
But yeah,
You're
for
going smell?
considering taste, smell, touch, hearing, sight. Those are the 5 we're considering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'll lose smell as well.
Yeah.
Mine
I
is-
think
mine is
as long as
taste.
what?
Yeah,
Dude.
because think about it. Eating, like tasting, is not a. It
If
is
you get
to an
used to it, I
extent,
think, yeah.
but it's not a functional part of. Like you would still get the food into your stomach, which would nourish your body, right?
What about the bad food?
Tasting, yes, but you can probably pick up bad food from smelling it before you even put it in your mouth. From
Okay,
looking at it
okay.
before you even put it in your mouth. For you to put it in your mouth, it's like a nut amongst many nuts, and it's like, there was a bad one in there, right?
But you know what you'll run into? You'll run into huge digestive problems, because the tongue is an organ that detects what's coming into the body and prepares. So, for example, you know that when you, if you drink a sweet drink, before that drink has made it from the front of your tongue to the back, a signal has been sent to
your
almost
body.
every cell in your body to release insulin. Prepare, there's sugar coming.
Yep.
So, and that's part of why we get so addicted to sugar, is actually that signal that's been sent before you've even swallowed it. But what I wonder, if you lose your sense of taste, is can your body still process food properly?
So I have, and I think
Okay.
this was, we
All right.
spoke about a podcast earlier, the Huberman
Yeah.
And I think one of the things he does say, because he always says he's a gut microbiologist, something like that. He always talks about the gut microbiome. But one of the episodes I listened to, he kind of spoke about the fact, you definitely have a point that what your tongue tells your body how to prepare to digest food. But he basically also said that your stomach has some sort of a sense as to what's in it, which is why to some extent, even when you eat food doesn't have nutrients, your body won't be satisfied. You know, it knows that it.
You have taste buds in your stomach. You know, you also have taste buds on your butthole.
Okay.
I did not know that.
I did not
do.
know that.
Okay. Well, guys, there's a fact for you. You won't come away with anything from this podcast. It's that you have taste buds on your butt.
I definitely did not know that. But anyway, yeah, you go into your thing, because
Yeah,
I know
your
what
hot
you
take.
want to go into.
Okay, so you spoke about
Data points and leadership.
Yeah.
yes, you spoke about decision making, or being senior in HODs and meetings and
My
whatnot.
brother had these conversations.
And I have a hot take, and I want to hear your opinion on this, because I've never really shared this with anyone else.
Okay.
It's a hot take, so prepare yourselves, everyone.
Yeah.
I think being a manager is easy. It's
not
an
as
easy role.
difficult.
It's not as difficult as being what I like to call operational staff. So if we're using the hierarchy of the mine, superintendents and coordinators' job is more difficult than
Probably
being a
harder
manager.
than being a manager.
Let me explain. What I think about being a manager, right? Let's say, for example, I'm a manager in a certain department.
Let's say in mining.
I like mining. Yeah. Let's use mining. And the decision that needs to be made is, which direction are we gonna?
Should we blast here or should we blast here?
Or should we start attacking this side of the pit as
Versus
opposed to
that
this side? I think by the time the decision is being brought to the manager, again, the coordinators, superintendents, the people below them have already gathered all the data, processed it, and I think usually, most cases, it's cost versus benefit, and obviously it's about
Like safety, maybe.
yeah,
as
it's
well,
what
or-
other consequences, repercussions, and I think they make it pretty clear cut which one is the best decision. By the time it's based, it's like usually it's okay. It could be many options, but it's like A, B, C, A, B, And how much money do we make from this? What are the consequences? What are the repercussions? Okay, maybe now that I think about it, the insight the manager could bring is, what have these guys missed? What have you, like the people below me missed?
That power comes from not being the doer, being the reviewer, right?
I guess.
Fundamentally,
But yeah, I think, just to finish off my point before I let you speak, I think it makes it pretty easy like that. Because some decisions, it's not always that are always close. Some are like far apart, like,
of course,
gonna make 50 million as opposed to 10 million, and it's basically the same process.
10 million has a longer term benefit versus the 50 million, which has a short term benefit but a longer term.
That's what I'm saying. Some yes, are pretty close, but some of them are like pretty clear cut. It's just that you have to be the one to make the call,
sign off,
you know. And then also, just to add on to that, okay, that one's a bit more controversial. Let's leave it there. Yeah, that's my hot take. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
you should tell me that controversial thing off mic.
Definitely.
You should tell us off mic.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
As you rise through a company, what increases is not workload, but the consequences of your decisions. So, you know, that's and the number of decisions you have to make. And I think some are clear cut, but there's also a phrase when you move into management, which is welcome to the not knowing.
Yeah.
Because there'll be a lot of decisions you have to make, but there will also be decisions that you have to make that will have an impact for decades to come. Yes. You know? And I think your quality as a manager is two things. You talk about that information being fed to you, but the manager is responsible for setting up the structure to bring that information. So first of all, okay, have you set up a structure that can feed you the right information to make decisions? And then secondly, how well you make I think your success as a manager is the accumulation of your decisions. You know, you will make a wrong decision every now and then, but over the period of a year, the 3,000 decisions you've had to make, all of those accumulate into, have you been successful or not? And I think that people who fail as managers, like, they can come in and at the beginning they can look very good, they can look very professional, they can sound very rational, but over time the decisions they've made accumulate, and it's really those decisions where A and B are pretty close, but maybe in the long run they'll kind of divert. Yeah, you know. And to me that's and I'll give you an example, and I don't mean to sort of blow my trumpet with this, but like with the Kansanshi Marathon.
Yeah, I think it do. Just okay.
Making the decision. So for me, like, it wasn't about how much work I did. It was about being able to look at what we had and go, this is missing something. Like this, we're doing all these sports, but they don't link with what the community actually wants. So we need to do something fundamentally different. What do we need to do that's different? Okay, and I'm gonna. Sorry, and this is going to blow my trumpet again. This year, this Kansanshi Marathon, a few months back, in maybe December last year, I was like, and we were having a meeting, and I said, I literally remember saying, guys, you're not going to think this is important, but it's going to be impactful. We're going to have a category for persons with disabilities this year. We need to do it. And I pushed the team and made them do it. And we worked out how to do it. And then another discussion came up. Okay, will we have a separate race for them, or will we put them on the same course? Yeah. And I said, no. This is about inclusion. If we put people in a separate race, what are we saying?
It's still segregation. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like a discrimination. Yeah.
The whole point is
discrimination.
Inclusion.
Yeah.
That blew up. That went viral when we had the event. And then I at Kansanshi Marathon, I was sitting with some guys from another large marathon in the country, and I was like, by the way, we're sending these guys to your marathon, so you better be ready for them. They're coming.
We saw that they included it.
Yeah. So now, as time goes on, marathons will start to include people with disabilities. But that's the fundamentally, people with disabilities are getting an opportunity to be seen in society. Zambia has not recognized people with disabilities. You put them in Cheshire homes and the way they are kept. And we, as a society, have to start being a little bit more inclusive. And there's another very big reason for that, which is there's been a culture historically in Zambia of the fit, able-bodied person feeling they've been shortchanged and therefore they're a victim. There's been a victim culture. But
The able-bodied, like people who are okay.
Yeah.
Feeling shortchanged.
yeah.
Okay.
By what or to what or...
Yeah.
Well, because of Zambia's history.
Okay.
You know, the country. So it comes, back to this, there's mines, they're not benefiting me. So when you've got persons with disabilities visible in culture, it helps to remind you of what you do have. And when you remember
And how fortunate you
and
are.
how fortunate you are and what abilities you do have. And that helps to remind you, I can do that thing that I need to do. I should stand up for myself.
Yep.
To me, all of this came back to, like, we need persons with disabilities to be visible in society, A, for their own benefit, and B, actually for the benefit of the rest of society. Now, that the work involved in that decision is not much. But I do think that one of the differences between good and bad managers is that good managers will be up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking, and they'll be out cycling and they'll be thinking. Whereas the bad manager will sit down and just try to make, because, like, for me, a lot of those things were the product of, I couldn't get it off my mind.
Yeah.
I'd be out running and I'd be thinking about it, and I'd be
stuck in your head.
Yeah, and then eventually, as a result of all of that painful and uncomfortable thinking, you arrive at a decision. And then if it's a good decision, it carries for years. And if it's a poor decision, best case scenario, you end up not having an impact. Worst case scenario, you end up having a horrific negative impact.
Exactly.
So my short answer to your hot take is that as you move up, the consequences of your decisions is what grows, and then, but also the onus is on you to work in a different way, to invest your mind over the weekend, at night, while you're driving, in really thinking through the ecosystem in which you operate, so that you have that foundational knowledge with which, so that instead of spending years and years scrutinizing the bucket.
Yeah,
We've gone full circle.
we've gone full circle.
But then, if I can read your mind, because I think what you're thinking is, how often are you met with decisions or situations in which you make a decision that could be detrimental? A lot of these organizations have systems and structures placed, safety nets that at no point in time is it ever 1 in a billion. It's usually 1 in 5. And if it gets a bit hectic, it could be 1 in 10, but by the time it's getting to a 1 in 10, there's probably like a group of people sitting at a table making that decision. So more often than not, you're met with the 1 and 2s, 1 and 2s, 1 and 2s. I'm just using that as a spectrum to show how far apart the decisions are. But aren't you still then somewhat protected anyway?
I think you are. And you're also, one of the great things about working for a big company is that you are in the inertia. The company has a certain inertia. And in my field, that inertia has a lot to do with reputation. Like, if your reputation starts to go sour, that's probably the accumulation of many poor decisions over a period of years. And so you now correcting it, trust won't just come. So
that's built an inertia of its own in the wrong direction.
And I think it's the same as relationships, like personal relationships. More often than not, it's because you've been chipping away at the trust and the confidence. And by the time you get to a place where this person has no trust in you and no confidence in you, it might not necessarily have been one. There is a possibility that it could have been one thing, right? But more often than not, it's an accumulation of those small little things. Yeah.
So we come to, have you ever read a book called Principles by Ray Dalio?
I haven't, no.
So he's a very successful investor and business person. But so what he talks about in the book Principles is that a principle is a mechanism for decision making that you can apply to all situations.
Okay.
So I'm going to be as open and candid and honest and transparent as I can be in all situations.
That to everything.
Yeah. Now the decisions, A, B, they accumulate over time, but also over time they're guided by your principles. So when you're not sure what to do, you will fall back,
Back
on
on
your
your
principles.
principles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I think a good manager or a good leader, ultimately, what principles do they have?
Sorry, I can tell how mentally stimulated Barry is by listening to this.
Okay.
So because
No,
it's like-
you know what's in my mind right
Okay.
now? We're pushing beyond the blueprint.
Exactly.
This is it. This is exactly why we're here having this conversation. It's thinking beyond the blueprint, because there's some people who think being a manager, being a leader is big salary and just bossing people around. Do
That's
this,
all that
do
it
that,
is.
go there, right? But someone right now might listen to this conversation and be
They'll be
like,
like-
I thought this was the blueprint. This is what I thought being a manager was. But in actual fact, there's something beyond that, which is the ABAB, the 1 and 10, and your principles falling back on it. And yes, that's exactly why I'm
what-
getting excited. Yeah.
Okay, carry
Because,
on.
yeah. So, yeah. I didn't think I was showing, but
yeah, it's right over your face.
And as a leader, also your principles will filter down to the people below you. So if I'm toxic, and again, I have a very publicly facing department. So if I'm toxic, when someone asks me a hard question, or when someone asks me a question that is preloaded with something that could be damaging,
Yeah.
how I respond to that, my team will take that as a cue in how they choose to speak publicly. So, and that could last, again, for years. That will have an impact one morning in how someone on my team chooses to answer a question in Lusaka while I'm still in bed on a Sunday morning. You know? So I think that your decision making is guided by strategy, and strategy is guided by principles. And principles are zoom right out to the big picture.
Yeah.
What do we want our lifelong body of work to be? What do we want the lifelong impact of this mine on the community to be? What I mentioned just now about being as open and candid and transparent, and I'll add as friendly as possible, is a principle to me. If someone asks me a question, I could either shut down and give them the minimum amount of information possible, or I can be as candid as possible and give them as much information as I can on that topic.
Yeah.
Over time, my view is that first option will gradually breed distrust. Relationships and reputation will gradually be damaged, because people will feel like, what is he hiding? What are the company hiding? You know, and also that tone, also kind of in public settings, when you answer people in that way, it embarrasses them a little bit, because they ask you a question, you just shut them down. Whereas being as open and candid as possible, gradually people begin to feel that they can trust you. Sometimes, but then there's risk. Like, because you will get people who will say, well, you're providing information that they didn't need to have. Now they might use that to attack you. But they're also less likely to attack you.
Yeah, because they feel they can trust you, and they feel like you're more transparent.
I think
Exactly.
animals do the same thing, right? Similar. Like, we're not taking away from the fact that some of these animals are vicious and can hurt you and whatever. But like, I think with a dog, if you're very open with it, it generally will trust you. Like, I can trust you. But if you're elusive, for lack of a better term, I'm assuming it will also then,
It feeds off that energy.
Yeah, a dog might never sleep around you because it never knows. Because every time you stand up, it doesn't know what you're about to do, right? It will always lift its head and say, I need to check what this guy's doing.
I play this game with my dog. I have a dog who was a rescue. She was abused quite badly.
Sorry, I
before
saw the
got her.
dogs today. Is it the black one or the brown one?
Brown one, Lua. But she can sense shadiness really well.
All right.
So I play this game where I might just be sitting and she's over there, and I will just act like I'm doing something. And she'll be like,
What is he doing? Yeah.
and if I push it, she'll growl, to get to the point where she stands up and she's growling. Now, overtly, nothing's happened.
Yeah.
All that's happened is I've shown her I'm hiding something from you. And immediately distrust.
Distrust. Yep.
Now, if a dog can pick up
On that.
then how naive would it be to think that society doesn't pick it up at large?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we behave as a company like, we're hiding something, there's something here, but we're not telling you.
Yeah.
Society will
Pick
pick
it
it
up.
up, and they will growl.
respond.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we have detractors as a company. And my take on detractors is sit down with them and try to have a conversation and try to understand. And I've had situations, and I'm not going to bring any names into this, but when I took on this role, there were a number of individuals who were very openly negative. They were on TV saying negative things, and all of them, I went and had conversations with them. And you have conversations, and they say, "But you're doing this." So you give them the backstory and you share information.
Yep.
And once you've shared that information, they go, "Okay, well, that makes sense." So they're not, then if someone understands what you're doing and why, then they're less likely to attack you on it.
Definitely. You have a point.
They may still have an incentive, and we do have some of these as well, where someone knows what we're doing and why, but they still have a political incentive to attack us. In some cases, we know that script. We know that this individual is going to say this about us.
Yeah.
And some cases, it's easier and better just to let that go. Because as a company, we've got a certain reputation and inertia, and we don't need to win every single battle.
Yeah.
But in other cases, we can be preemptive. And now this comes all the way back to the strategy in my role. How do you decide as corporate affairs or public relations what stories to tell? Yeah. Well, sometimes you're trying to be preemptive. You know someone's going to attack you on a certain topic. So
you beat them to it.
Get there first. Yeah. I'm going to give you an example here. The same way that last year with the marathon, I was like, we need to have inclusive races and let people in. This year, I'm now trying to get, and people are scared. There's a few people who've been a bit resistant on this, and I've been trying to push them. We're building roads like crazy in this city. That's part of our narrative. Yeah. In the national discourse, there's a discussion of these mines don't give anything to their communities, right? Now, can we do better in terms of what we give to communities? Yes, and we're trying really hard to figure out how and to optimize these things. But at the same time, that event is on national TV and 2,500 plus people will come and take part. That is an opportunity to say, this year, we're sending you on all these beautiful new roads that we've built.
constructed, yeah.
So that is key to our narrative as a company. Yeah. And there's no dishonesty, there's no lie. In fact, it's the opposite. We have a truth. We've built these roads. We're building a lot of roads over the next 5 years. Yeah. We have that truth. We should share it.
Exactly.
So that's part on decisions. Coming back to decisions, there's 1,000 decisions to make in a year or in a month or whatever. Like with all of these decisions, they gradually accumulate into a massive success or failure. And I think ultimately that is the challenge in management, is like constantly, do I have the right principles behind what I'm doing? Do I have the right overall strategy? And then if you've got that all right, that moment of making the decision is easy because you've done the homework. But the homework is where it's at, I think.
The unfortunate thing with that, and Beru, probably you got a little bit of a saying with regard to results. People judge people on results.
Yeah.
Other people go up.
Yeah.
How does it go?
We judge ourselves on intention, whereas people judge us on results. So when we judge ourselves, it's I was trying to do this. And when other people judge us, it's you did this, right? It's not about what you were trying to do. And some people are good enough to see through it and say, look, I use this as an example. Football is a very good example, and we use that analogy a lot. Is when you attempt to make a pass somewhere, right? In your mind, you're thinking, if I can get it past that guy to that guy, he can make the run to that. But if it's intercepted, everyone who's watching is, why would you pass that? There was these 5 other open people, right? Yeah. And some people can see the idea. They can see, but if he managed to get it through, that would have broken it down and that would have been a goal, right?
But this is where accumulation comes in, I think. Because if you're good, if you're good, and if your ability to make decisions is good and your overall strategy is good, you'll miss that pass. But more times than not,
you make 5 good passes or 10 good passes. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
True.
If you're a poor decision maker, or I'll give you an example, and I'm not going to talk much about our football team, but the one we have here in Solwezi. But when you watch a game and you see a player time and time again get the ball, lose composure, and blast that ball, right?
Yeah.
He's a poor decision maker.
Yeah.
So get him off the pitch.
Yeah.
Or like retrain him. Like you there's something you need to work on.
Something fundamentally wrong.
Yeah. And he might be highly skilled. In training, he might have the technique. But
Every time he's placed on the field.
when he's on the field and he's in the box and in the moment that counts, he can't do it because he's overwhelmed. He loses composure.
Yeah.
But the accumulation is what matters. You lose composure once, you have a bad day. We're all going to have bad days. We're all going to make wrong decisions.
Yeah.
But like, if overall that player is able to make composure and he has the right ideas behind it, like as what is it my job to do when I get the ball?
Yeah.
The accumulation will, and that's the other thing about football is it's a season, right?
Yeah.
So you might have that match where Liverpool lose to Bath or whatever,
Yeah.
But
Bath fans are upset right now.
If there's any Bath fans that watch our podcast.
But like that match is not that is because that's just the exception.
Yeah.
Liverpool's legacy is the accumulation.
Is it? Yeah.
So I think that sometimes you will be judged on a decision, and generally I think in a company that operates rationally, unless you've broken some sort of law or whatever it might be, you're going to say, okay, look, overall, Barry makes great decisions. Here was the thinking behind this decision, and here's why it went wrong. And so actually that shouldn't be on Barry.
Yeah, it's
right?
an isolated case.
I think that in poorly run companies, we got a scapegoat. Fire Barry, But overall, I think that in companies like that, you'll gradually see performance dwindle.
And Barry and have this little saying that we say. And funny enough, we had one of those moments this morning.
As we were driving down,
We say
we make decisions with the information that we have at the time.
on hand at the time.
And you can't beat yourself up if new information comes to light after you've already made a decision, because that's the information you had at the time. You needed to make a decision, and you've made a decision.
You learn from that experience.
You learn from it, and that's it. Yeah.
Control what you can. Don't worry about the rest.
Exactly.
So anyway, it's been a very long episode. We've chatted quite a bit. I think we've bounced from place to place. Thanks a lot, Ryan. And actually, we also wanted to say, we won't say the person's name, but thank you very much to the person that allowed us to record in their space. Ryan obviously Ryan set that up for us, so that's amazing. And we appreciate it. Hopefully you guys appreciate the aesthetic and the time that's been put in. But yeah, a lot of conversation here, a lot to think about, a lot beyond the blueprint. And I hope you guys are happy that now we're getting some new faces in, some new voices in. I don't know, do you want people to follow you on social media? We've got a few people that listen to us, and some people might have, do you want them to follow you on social media? If you do, you can tell them where they can find you. And I'll share this on mine for what it's worth. But it's funny, at the beginning of the episode, we talked about like it's a decision as to whether to actually develop your personal brand or not. Yeah.
And so now you're forcing me into a decision.
And funny enough, we didn't touch on it, but one of the reasons, maybe this is for another time, I actually wanted to ask, because you said it's a decision you've been planning, you've been, it's a shame you're waiting, you still don't know whether to make
going back and forth.
To expose yourself and really like open up your personal brand, but that's for another day.
Yeah. Well, I might not have power in this decision anyway. I MC marathons sometimes. And after you do that, you gain like a few hundred followers a day for a few days.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good place to expose this podcast. We should work out a way to make something happen.
Right.
Of course. Maybe in a live episode, bro. That would be cool.
That would be really cool.
Some of the public figures that come around. We'll look into that for sure.
And a few episodes building up to the marathon, talking about things that'll matter to marathon runners.
Definitely.
And it doesn't have to just be sport. A lot of marathon runners are successful career business people, including someone who you're trying to get on your show.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for having me. I'm very humbled to be your first guest and excited to try and support the growth of this podcast so I can get myself another shot.
But thanks for setting.
Really enjoyed
it. I think you're officially a friend of the show. So
thanks for setting the tone. I think as a first guest, you really, done the most, and it means a lot. And we do thank you for that. I think it's been a very good conversation, and I'm really hoping people who listen to this will
watch this.
I'm so used to saying listen to this.
Yeah.
People who watch and listen to this will learn a lot. I'm pretty sure they will. There's a lot of interesting points we've discussed.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone can pick up a point or two.
So as you go on, look beyond the blueprint. I think there's nothing else to be said, All right.
Yeah.
Cheers, gents.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
guys.
Thanks,
Have
guys.
a good one.
Have a good one.
Cool stuff.